This is Mr. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. If Escobar was the most famous Colombian drug trafficker, El Chapo is the biggest Mexican drug trafficker. In 2001, El Chapo successfully escaped from a prison in Mexico. The story of this escape is not very interesting to tell you, but after this escape, the Mexican police were prepared to apprehend only him. But this preparedness took 13 years to result in his arrest. Finally, in 2014, El Chapo was captured and transferred to the most secure prison in Mexico, known as Altiplano Prison. However, El Chapo was not an ordinary prisoner. He could buy everything, meaning no one could say, "I am not for sale," because tomorrow they might not wake up. From the very first day he entered the prison, El Chapo planned his escape. He hired people to buy land around the prison, build a fake house on it, and dig an underground tunnel beneath the prison where Altiplano Prison is located. Of course, this prison has a solid foundation, so it was not easy to dig and go underneath the prison. But El Chapo was wealthy, and with the power of money, the tunnel progressed. All the stones were broken with hammers and picks because they couldn't use a pneumatic hammer to avoid making noise. They worked day and night with those hammers and picks. El Chapo had the money to bring a drilling machine. However, they couldn't make too much noise because the distance between the house they had built and the prison was 1.5 kilometers. 1.5 kilometers of firm and heavy ground, but they had to work day and night to quickly complete the tunnel because famous prisoners are not kept in one prison for long, especially a prisoner like El Chapo, who had so much money that he could change everything. On the other hand, the house they built on that land raised suspicions among the local people. They wondered why they built 4 walls and then abandoned it. That's why El Chapo ordered them to work quickly and not leave any traces until the job was done. The largest Mexican drug cartel had grown under his supervision. El Chapo not only has the title of the biggest Mexican drug trafficker, but also the title of the biggest hitman in Mexico. However, after entering this prison, he became a very polite prisoner. He didn't argue with anyone and laughed and joked with everyone, spending his time in prison very calmly. But beneath this calmness, a network was working for him. In these 16 months that he stopped in this prison, he patiently waited for the tunnel to be completed and tried not to cause any problems. Finally, after 16 months, the tunnel reached El Chapo's cell. This shows that he had such influence inside the prison that he obtained the prison's layout because otherwise it would not have been so easy to open the tunnel beneath El Chapo's cell. They had built a professional tunnel. Not only did the entire route have lights and an oxygen pump inside the tunnel, but they also laid rails on the floor of the tunnel, which was moved by a motorcycle, displacing the soil. This tunnel was more than 10 meters deep in the ground and connected to the surface through 2 shafts. One of them led directly to El Chapo's cell, while the other one entered the house. Once the tunnel was ready, El Chapo descended through the shaft and boarded the wagons on the floor of the tunnel. It quickly reached the next shaft that led to the floor of the house. Now, where did the soil and rocks excavated from the tunnel go? The land they had purchased contained a horse racing track where they would bring in soil and spread it on the equestrian ground every day. The construction of the 12th tunnel project was finally completed in July 2015 when the entrance of the shaft was opened inside El Chapo's cell. This was another reason why the prison staff had been completely corrupted, because the final pieces they needed to enter the cell had cut through all the reinforced concrete bars of the prison floor. So this couldn't have been done without making any noise. In any case, El Chapo escaped. An interesting thing about this tunnel is that its height was adjusted to match El Chapo's height, so that when he sat on the wagon, his head wouldn't hit the tunnel's ceiling. Another interesting feature of this tunnel is that it was engineered, and areas prone to collapse were reinforced with wooden supports to prevent them from collapsing. This means that at least several engineers must have worked on the construction of this tunnel. Many people say that El Chapo covered this 1.5 kilometers on the motorcycle, but maybe someone else was riding the motorcycle, and El Chapo was sitting on the wagons. He reaches the unfinished house in about 2 minutes where everything is ready. He cleans himself, changes his clothes, gets into a van, and leaves. However, this escape was not limited to Mexico, and it was not like El Chapo's previous escape where he would disappear. This time, the neighboring country, the United States, was pressuring Mexico to ensure his capture. El Chapo was comfortably wandering around Mexico for himself. If he encountered any trouble, he would solve it with money. But one day, while walking in the city without a car, he realized that someone was watching him. With the bodyguard accompanying him, they quickly remove a person from a car with a gun and get into their car and leave. The owner of the car immediately informs the police that El Chapo has taken my car. Although El Chapo had changed his appearance, the car owner recognized him. The car owner's report leads all the Mexican police to know which car El Chapo is sitting in, and they start chasing him. They manage to surround and arrest El Chapo. No matter what he tried to do with his money, he couldn't succeed because there was an order from the higher-ups to capture him. The police officers who arrested him face a big problem and inform the police that 40 of El Chapo's top commandos are coming after them. The police go with El Chapo to a bustling hotel to escape from the commandos. El Chapo starts threatening the police, telling them that if they don't let him go, they and their families will be killed. But if they let him go, they and their families will never need anything again. However, the police had to keep him because the Mexican army was on its way, and if a conflict arose, they had to stand against El Chapo's commandos. El Chapo's commandos couldn't find this bustling hotel, which allowed the Mexican army to easily reach there and take El Chapo into custody and take him away. The United States told the Mexican government not to keep him in a Mexican prison anymore because the chances of his escape were high. They sent him to the worst prison in the United States, ADX Florence in Colorado. This prison is called the New Alcatraz, where El Chapo is serving a life sentence, and there is no way to escape from there. This prison has an interesting story, and we will soon release its video. If you want to know where El Chapo is now, watch the video.